Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's live. We are on a Monday, and I have a really fun fold for you today. This is a beautiful card from the outside, nice and simple, but when it opens up, it has this real like wow effect on the inside, and you are going to be so surprised how easy this is to make. This is using the beautiful traditional labels and bundle and the Traditions of Christmas Designer Series paper. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, as I said, this is our card we're making today. And I did a little bit of fussy cutting to get that and this in here, but the rest of it's going to be really simple. And it sure packs a wow. So I really think you're going to like it. Okay, we're going to start out with obviously a standard card base. So we have 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. So that's half a sheet of our cardstock. It's cut in half and then scored in half, which is how we do all of ours for basic like that. For the outside, I have a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. So I just went down 1/4 inch for that. I have 2 for the inside, and I went ahead and cut them. I went 5 1/4 by 8 and then cut it at 4 so that my pattern would align once it's on the inside, because we're going to put one on the top and one on the bottom, and I wanted them to match, obviously. And then I have our little steps that are going to be on the inside. So I have this one here that is 5 1/4 by 2 1/2, and it's scored at 1/4 inch, 1 1/4, and then 2 1/4. And they're little edges on these ones because I wanted it kind of hidden behind here. These others have 1/2 inch. I'm going to call these tabs. So you could use 1/2 inch if you wanted. I just liked how the 1/4 inch hid it a little better. Okay, I have some designer series paper that's going to cover that up. So these are 5 inches by 3/4 inch. I have this piece here that is 3 inches by 5 inches, scored at 1/2 inch, 3 inch, and then 4 1/2. To go over that, I have this piece here that is 2 3/4 by 2 1/4. And then the top is 2 3/4 by 1 1/2. So that's going to go right there. I have this piece here, which is going to be our step right here. So this one is 1 1/2 by 4, scored at 1/2 inch, 3 inches, and 3 1/2 inches. And then I have the designer series paper to go on that is 1 1/4 by 2 1/4. And then I have 1 1/4 by 1/4 inch. So just a little bit to go up there. And then I have the pieces I'm going to need to fussy cut. When we're doing fussy cutting, you want to start out with a pair of very sharp, small scissors. You're going to start in the very back of the blade, and you're going to turn the paper instead of the scissors. You want to keep your hand nice and comfortable and turn the paper. And as you start to close down on your scissors and you get up closer to the tip, that's when you're going to want to adjust and pull it back into the base again, and then come around. So work deep in the blade and turn the paper instead of the scissors. That's the biggest tips with fussy cutting. Probably should have done this ahead of time. I've been prepping for Christmas because I'm going to be heading out of town. So I will be out of town from the 22nd of December through the 3rd of January. But I'm still going to go live on the Mondays. So I will pre-film something to go off on the 22nd, the 29th, and then January, whatever that 5th, I guess it is. Maybe the 5th I'll be back in the office. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to be all together then. Hopefully I will be, but I wanted to be safe and have something pre-filmed because, as you know, I like to still go live as planned, whether I'm in the office or not, just so you guys don't miss out. But I am going to be taking Christmas and New Year's Day off. So those 2 Thursdays, there will not be a live. And then I'm still looking for ideas from you guys of whether or not I should continue the Stamping Made Simple in the new year or start doing a Zoom session with you guys once a week so that we could talk a little closer, or what it is that you guys would want me to be doing to help you out with your card making in the new year. So if you could give a little bit of input there, that would be great. I seem to get a lot more traction with my videos on more of the fun folds. Obviously, that's what a lot of people follow me for, which is how the books came to be. And as I've said multiple times, version 4 is coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. There are the other 3 already on my store. So if you wanted to tell somebody you wanted one for Christmas, it's not too late to tell them. You know, it probably wouldn't arrive in time, but I would think it would still be kind of exciting to know that it was coming. Or they could download the digital version. That obviously would happen right away. Did anybody take advantage of the free shipping that was happening last week? Stampin' Up! Gave 3 days of free shipping to those who were placing an order $75 or more. So you got the free shipping and you got the opportunity to purchase the exclusive designer series paper that is now part of the product of the month that Stampin' Up! Has introduced. They said rather than doing Celebration, which is a limited time thing only for a couple months out of the year, they're going to do a product of the month. So each month they're going to change up what product is offered, and it will be available for a minimal purchase. Like this pack of designer series paper they have going on right now, if you place a $75 order, you get it for just $5. They're going to change that up, and sometimes it will be DSP, sometimes it will be a stamp set, sometimes it will be dies. They're going to try to offer something for everybody so that everybody gets a chance to order something that they would like to get as that product of the month. So look for the new one that will be coming in January. We have our new January catalog coming out. That would be this one here, January 6th. This catalog will go live, as well as a new batch of online exclusives. We are not allowed to show you the inside of the catalog or the online exclusives yet until they are live, unless we have product. I do have a few things in product that I'm going to hope to be showing you before January, but I can't show you the catalogs that Stampin' Up! Has produced. I can't share PDFs and those sorts of things until they are actually live. So I'm going to go ahead and layer my designer series paper on here. I think it's going to be a little easier to apply if I just do it while it's flat here. And then we will start putting our card together. I'm using liquid glue. Normally I'm a seal gal. I like the double-sided adhesives. But when I put this one together, I noticed that it kind of lifted a little bit where I did not have adhesive right there. So this time I am doing liquid so that I can get all the way along the edges. I'm only using a little bit of glue, but I'm getting as close to the edges as I can get and all the way around so that it'll give a nice, good grip onto our cardstock. I just love this DSP. I think the pretty patterns on the front with all of the gold is just gorgeous. And then it's got some great neutrals on the back. Oh, looks like I cut this one a little wide. Pop over here to my trimmer and cut this down. So I guess this, instead of being 1.5 inches, it should have been 1.25 inches. So I apologize for that. I had to do some math with this one because I actually copied it from Iced Images. I don't know if you've seen her stuff before, but she made this card in a 6x6. And I don't like the kind of odd shaped cards if I can help it. So I converted it down so that it would fit into an A2 format rather than be 6x6. Again, I'm getting kind of making a mess with the liquid glue. I think this is why I like the seal better. I don't make as much of a mess. But if you do like liquid glue and need a way to clean it up, I mean, any of our adhesives can be cleaned up using the adhesive remover. It's a little rubber square that we use. You just rub it along where the excess adhesive is, and it's going to roll it right off, and then that'll take that off. And so we used to sell this through Stampin' Up, and we don't anymore, and I miss it. So I have this in my Amazon store. I found a link for several things that I use on Amazon, and then I created a page that you guys can go check out. It includes the mini magnets and the Velcro dots. I'm going to be using some new, what they call nail spinners. I guess people put things on their fingernails that spin in circles. I'm not going to be putting it on my fingernails, but I thought it would be super cool to use on a card. So I've got some of those on order. And all those things are linked on that Amazon storefront. Okay. So let's go ahead and start putting our card together. So for this, I think I'm going to go back to my trusty seal adhesive. I have not had issues with the seal adhesive. I know some people struggle using it. And if you do, please let me know. I'd love to work with you and figure that out. I know my biggest tips are to keep the case around it very clean, because if you get some glue on here, it's obviously going to try to grab hold of the new glue coming out. You want to start down there and then drag, and then you kind of want to give it a little bit of a flick so that it breaks off at the tip. You want it to snap off way up here. You don't want it to snap off back here, so that it will be sticky at the tip when you go to start rolling it again. Because if you don't, it has this like string of like snail goobers. I don't know if you can even see that. Is the light catching it? And if that starts getting all yucky, when it breaks off, it's going to make it break off further back here. And that way the tip of your roller is not going to be sticky when you go to roll it again. So I just put our basic layers on. I did the layers on the inside of the card as well as out here. I put the layers of designer series paper on our little inserts. We're going to take our pieces and we're going to burnish them. One thing I want to remember is that, you know, as you're doing this, you want to make sure that you are flush on the two sides. You don't want it to be like a little bit cattywampus like that. You want to make sure that they are indeed square as you're burnishing them. So just kind of watch the two sides. So I'm going to start out by putting this one in first. And I want to do that by lining up the that center score line. So I'm taking the score line on this and the score line on my card, and I'm making the two of them match. So right there, the score line on both pieces. Then I'm going to put adhesive on here. Let's see if we can do this with tear and tape. It's going to be exactly the same width. So it's going to be a tight fit, but as I peel this off, then what I'm going to do is just take my finger and just make sure that it's kind of folded back. So it's not going to grab anything that it shouldn't. Okay. Then, as I said, I want that score line lined up. And then I want to just flip this under. Okay. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to put our adhesive down this little strip. Peel off that, and then I'm just going to use my finger to make sure that we have flicked back anything that was hanging over, because I don't want it to grab where it shouldn't. Then I'm going to fold that over. Okay, so it's to the back side, and then I'm going to fold it flat. Okay. So that's how it's going to create that box on the inside, is that I wanted it totally flush with those score lines measured up, and then the adhesive to the back. You see the little tab back there? Okay, now this piece I want to go right here. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to put adhesive along the bottom of this. And again, it could be tear and tape, could be seal. You might be a liquid glue person, but just basically adhesive. And then we're going to match it up with the edge of the base down here and the edge of our designer series paper over here. Might even want to use your bone folder. Make sure that glue has a good grip. Okay, then we're going to fold that over at the second score line. And we're going to put our adhesive right here, and then we're going to close the card. Mine kind of just fits. I don't know if you can see that. It's just missing there. The gal that I watched make her layers, this one was actually a little longer and came out on top of the little piece there. So as she closed it, she had to make sure that this piece was on top of the shelf, not underneath it, but mine just clears it. But as I said, hers was a 6 by 6, so it was a little different. Susan said this fold looks like it's going to be easy to do. It is. It is very easy to do. It's surprising, you know, because it's got such a wow look to it. You kind of, it gets intimidating, but it's actually not bad. There's no angles. It's all straight. You know, it's like nice, easy measurements, no 1/8 of an inch. Okay, I'm going to center this one kind of, you know, between left and right on that. And then I'm going to do the same kind of idea. We're going to put our adhesive on that little 1/2 inch. And then we're going to want to hold it down here. And there we go. Okay, so we just want to make sure we've got a good grip down here and up here. See, isn't that cool? Then to just decorate it a little bit, I thought it needed something up here. I could easily see how, you know, if you're using the terrific toadstools, you could have a mushroom, you know, coming up here, or maybe if a little jar of the candies and stuff from the sweet jar. I would love it if we had balloons for like a birthday thing popping out of here. There's like so many things you could do with this. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and cut some basic pieces down here for our Merry Christmas. So this is 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. So I'm going to pull out my pack of scraps. Each of my colors down here has a hanging file. And then inside is my open packet. And then if I had a full packet, that would be in the back. But being Christmas, I've used a lot of red. And then in there are these Pendaflex folders. Again, these are on my Amazon store. And I keep these with each of my scraps so that they are easy to grab hold of when I really need one. So I said 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. So each time I need a color, I grab my scrap packet first, and then if I don't have a piece large enough, then I move on to the full sheets. But most times when I'm doing little things like this, I can find something in my scrap one that's going to work. Okay, so if this was 4 3/4, this should be 4 1/2. I'm just going down 1/4 of an inch. And then because it was 1 1/2, this will be 1 1/4. I'm going to use traditional labels. So that's this set right here. And there's Christmas and Merry. And on the outside here, I said sending love and joy. We're going to want to die cut a label. And I'm going to die cut first before stamping. You can go either way. It's kind of a personal preference. So I need my traditional labels dies. I'm going to grab these ones here, and I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to cut that out of basic white. And I've shown before, if you wanted to mat this, so we only have the one die, but if you wanted to have a mat behind it to make it pop a little more, what you would do is cut a second one of the same size. And then we would just cut it down the middle. Of course, I was a little rough with mine and that broke. But the idea was that you would then just layer them one on top of the other with that popping out. If I hadn't snipped mine wrong, you can see how that would fit, that it would give that just little bit of a lip on the top. And then you would use the other piece to give a little bit of lip at the bottom. There we go. So then you would just glue that together and you would have a piece that is matted. And then it's got this opening in the back, but you're not going to see that when you glue it to your project. You also want to be sure when you are using this, there's two of them that are kind of swooped the same way this is. You want to make sure that it fits just right, because one way it kind of looks like it fits, but it's not quite. So you want to try both ways and see which one is going to line up your words better than the other. I don't know why it's not mirrored, but I have found that it works better one way than the other. So just take a look at it. I'm going to go ahead and stamp in Old Olive because that's the card base we're working with. And it's also one of the colors in our designer series paper. Stampin' Up! Makes things really simple for us that way. Okay, so that's going to be one. Oops, I And I have adhesive sheet on the back of this, so this one's going to be easy to do. It's going to be a sticker. Normally my fingernails can grab it, but when they don't, I kind of use the end of my take your pick tool and peel that back. I'm going to lay this one flat on the inside rather than using dimensionals because I think it's already a little thick in here. And I want to make sure it's going to close. But we can use dimensionals on the front. So I'm going to bring in some of my mini dimensionals and position those. Oops. You may want to consider if you have trouble seeing which ones have the cover on them and which ones don't, is when they are full like this, maybe go over it with a highlighter or a pen, just something that's going to make these covers a different color other than white. Then when you place them on your project, you know to remove just the ones that are colored. That way you don't have to test out whether or not they're sticky. Okay, I'm going to put this a little bit to the left because I want to come in and add my flowers on the right. And because I popped up this on dimensionals, I want to pop this up on dimensionals as well to make it match, but I don't want them here. So this area that is overlapping, because this is already raised, I don't want any dimensionals behind here. I'm going to keep them above and below because I don't want them too high. I want them one high. So there we go. There is the front of our card and our inside with all our little stacking boxes. So I would love to see what you guys decide to do with this. I do have the card I'm going to be doing on Thursday. So as soon as I get a few little rhinestones on here, we'll take a peek at that. And it's going to be another fun fold, but because it's a Thursday and it is Stamping Made Simple, it doesn't require any die cuts, but still has a little bit of a wow. So come back on Thursday to find out how to make this triple flap card. So there we go. What did you think of today's card? Is this something you're going to give a try? I'd love to know what you do with it. Thanks so much. I will see you on Thursday. Bye.